Hello, Hangouts, and we are hanging out on 94.0 FM. Welcome, our lovely listeners, on our Thursday show, every Thursday at 7 o'clock. And guys, do not forget that you can catch up if you've missed any of the previous radio shows. Simply Google Halal Hangouts podcast or go to YouTube and type in Hanging Out podcast, and you can find us and you can revisit some of our previous episodes. But today we do have a very special guest, and you know what? I'm excited because he's a foodie just like I am. His name is Ali, and you will know him actually because he's been a contestant on the Great British Bake Off. So many of you will recognize him as a guest, a TV personality, but he's also a chef by trade. And we'll talk a little bit about Ali, growing up in Birmingham. We'll talk about the Great British Bake Off show and kind of experience on that show. And I want to talk to him today a little bit about some of the controversy we've seen on his Instagram and in the press around him being a victim of racial abuse, specifically targeted at his religious background. So without further ado, let's speak to Ali. How you doing, bro? Assalamu alaikum.
I'm good. Welcome so much. About how you?
Can't complain, man. Can't complain. How's COVID treating you? What do you do? What's your typical day during lockdown?
Oh, so I'd probably wake up at about 9:30, 10. I'd stay in bed, going through my emails till about, I'm ashamed to say this, but till about 12. That's when I'll get up, have a shower, brush my teeth, maybe choose what I'm gonna wear, otherwise just stay in my night clothes. And then I'm on a diet right now, wish me luck. So I have to make sure I get 10K steps in. So I normally go out for a walk, get my 10K steps in, then I'll come back, have my lunch, and pretty much I'll either stay in bed or I'll go to my cafe, which is where I'm at now, or I'll be in one of the rooms and just either doing my book stuff or doing some background stuff for Coco. But yeah, it's quite sporadic. I mean, I'm sure everyone can relate somehow.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you seem quite busy, actually. To be fair, I think a lot of people are probably less busy than you are, Ali. You seem like you're keeping yourself. I guess are you trying to keep yourself? I mean, if you're anything like me, I need advice. Like I need to be actively doing something each day. I can't be sat in front of Netflix. So. Tell us about where. So you're in the. So for the listeners who can't see right now, Ali is actually literally sitting in front of a flower wall, and his flower wall is in his cafe, right? And that's in Birmingham. So tell us a bit about the cafe. Is that something you run and operate?
Yeah, so it's called Coco by Ali, and it's a cross between a cafe and a patisserie. So we have a whole range of cakes and tarts and stuff that our baking team makes each day. Of course, I'm saying when we're actually open, they're making house, and then we have a section of food, desserts, hot drinks, and all that as well. And we're kind of like a pretty cafe, like an Instagrammable cafe. So going on the tail end of Elan and Fair, St. Ames, all those sort of really pretty cafes are in London. We just kind of brought that concept over to Birmingham, and of course, since everything is halal here, like everything at Coco is halal, it kind of it's kind of like it's a cool place for sort of Muslim millennials to kind of chill and eat, take photos, all that sort of stuff. So it's a cute little cafe.
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned like it's kind of like you do a mixture of stuff, don't you? Like desserts. And you do things like brunch as well, and I presume you do like specialty coffees and that kind of stuff. Is that kind of stuff you do?
Yeah, pretty much. It's all about good food, good desserts, good drinks, but also making sure that they look pretty because obviously everyone wants to put it on Instagram. Um, so yeah, it's just a pretty place with pretty good food.
You need to check out Coco by Ali's on Instagram. I'm looking at some of the imagery on there, and it's beautiful. Like
Oh, thank you.
yeah, you've made some really Instagrammable food shots. I'm actually pretty jealous because our Halal Hangouts page looks nowhere near as good as your page.
Well,
So
we have a really good photographer. Her name's Hina, and you can give her anything, and she'll make it look really good. So it's half our food and half her skills.
yeah, for sure. You know what? If you've got a good photographer who knows what they're doing, you can literally make food look like a piece of art, and that's what you've
Yeah, and I think
done.
that's what she's done.
And you got a lot of vibrancy as well in the colors. Like
Yeah,
for example, your ice mermaid frappe. Like
yeah,
the color that's running through. It reminds me of the slush puppy colors, the blue,
yeah, yeah,
the strawberry one, and
yeah,
the blue one. The kind of
yeah.
color scheme
It's
going.
like that, just copy.
Oh, right, that's brilliant. I love it. And so Coco by Ali, what's the inspiration behind this? Because is this kind of typically um is this kind of was this kind of your vision? Because as you say, like the way that the food's presented is really playful,
Yeah.
it's really colorful. So kind of who came up with that concept? Is this something that you came up with, or did you have like a team, a branding team behind it that helped you come up with these ideas?
So it's me and my business partner. We opened it up about 2 years ago, and it's just been a sort of natural progression since there. We've seen what people like, what they don't like, and kind of adapted it from there. And also, we have a really strong team as well. There's about 15 of us at Coco, and everyone has their own input. So some of the dishes you're seeing on our Instagram page, have come via inspiration by the team as well. So we're just a really creative place. So we kind of want everyone to have an input, everyone to kind of share their opinions, share their recipes, and that's kind of how we play. Like we're not very structured, we're not very formal.
Yeah.
It's all about encouraging our team to kind of try out new things, and if it works, we put it on the menu.
Yeah, no, I love it. And what's kind of what are your kind of iconic um items? If I was to come to Coco, what would you say, Shaz? This and you got to try
I'd
this.
say it has to be our brioche baked toast. Like that's what we're known for. I think that if you're on our Instagram, like the first four, I'm pretty sure are the other variations of our brioche baked toast. But yeah, it's just because we do ours a little bit differently. Most people, when you think of French toast,
Yeah.
it's all grilled on a pan. But we find that could be a little bit greasy, a little bit heavy. So we bake ours in the oven, and then we finish it off with a blowtorch, and that just makes it more crispy and soft in the middle, and that's what works for us.
No, I love it. I love brioche as well, by the way. I have to say I'm
Me too, me too.
so you've got me there. That's the thing. When I get time to come down, like I'm looking at
And
your
once it's legal
brioche.
too.
It's like French toast. Man, I've had some bad experiences with French toast in the past, and
Yeah.
I'm looking at your ones, and yeah, man,
I'm sure you like ours.
they look beautiful. They look amazing. I really, really would say I give all the listeners, I encourage you all to go right now to Coco by Ali and just check out his Instagram page. Obviously, this is based in a waterfront walk in Birmingham. At the moment, I think you guys are only doing walking because of COVID.
Oh,
But
right now we're closed, unfortunately.
okay, so you're closed. Okay, fine. So are you guys intend to be open once you kind of lower your tiers?
Well, yeah, we've just moved into tier 4 now, as of tonight. And we have decided we're not going to open until we're in tier 2. So, I mean, God knows when that's going to be. I was just speaking to one of the chefs of one of the baking team, and we're calculating of how long we've been open. And we've been open probably about 6 months out of this year. And then obviously going into the next year, we don't know how many of those months we're going to be open for. So it's troubling times, but we're kind of holding on and just looking forward to when we're actually allowed to open again, because, I'm sitting here now and I miss the front of house staff making coffee. I miss the hustle and bustle of people sitting down and chatting whilst they eat. We all almost always have a queue outside, and I kind of miss that sort of rush. And it's just a shame because we've been close for so long that I just miss normality. I'm sure everyone does, but I just kind of miss, being normal.
Yeah, I get what you mean, and plus because I think your kind of cafe is all about the being immersed in it, in the experience,
Mm.
and the fun and the playfulness of it. I think even taking it out, it just doesn't have the same. It doesn't have the same feel, does it?
No.
But I mean, hopefully, inshallah, things change next
Yeah.
year. Maybe midway through next year, things start to pick up again. Let's hope. But I'm definitely
Hopefully.
I'm 100% gonna be down checking out the brioche toast that you guys do, because that looks very it looks phenomenal, man. Like you know us, we're foodies. We've got to come down. We've got to give you the Halal Hangouts treatment and do the review. Let's
By all means.
let's take it back a bit, because not everyone obviously got to know you from the Bake Off. So tell me a bit about your where you grew up, and how did you find this kind of fondness and love for cooking and baking?
Yeah, so I've lived practically all my life in Birmingham. Born here, raised here, and yeah, live with my mom, my three brothers and one sister. We're all quite a close knit family. But then I moved away for uni. I moved to Leicester. It's not too far, but I moved away to Leicester, and I had a house share with a few friends of mine. And like we weren't particularly keen on having takeaway all the time, because there weren't many great options there. So one of the housemates I lived with, he had a cookbook, and he was like, let's start making some stuff. So I was like, all right, cool. You have to bear in mind, in my house when I lived in Birmingham, I hadn't cooked a single thing ever. In fact, our oven would only ever be turned on for Eid, and that was when we'd have like roast lamb or something. So I had no experience really of baking anything at all. But then he taught me stuff like, shepherd's pie, cottage pie, and then we moved on to savories like cupcakes and Victoria sandwiches. And that's when I was like, I'm enjoying this. And
You learned it in uni. So before that, you weren't into, you weren't really an avid cook, or you weren't into baking. So so one of your friends randomly had a cookbook, because I've never
yeah,
met anyone at uni who had a cookbook.
yeah.
Everyone was always eating out, but you guys, so you had a cookbook and that's how you picked it up. That's
Yeah, essentially,
a story.
and that kind of, and then every Thursday, I think it was, we used to have some friends around, and then he was like, "Well, we might as well like make some food for them." And so every Thursday we'd try a new cake recipe, cupcakes, macarons, and that kind of became our thing. And then it became a case of, as soon as I moved back to Birmingham after uni, I just kept that going. I remember my mom was so shocked. She's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm baking." And she's like, "But you've never baked before in your life." I was like, "Well, I have, just not here." And then yeah, it just went from there. And then I think like a couple of years after that, I applied for the Bake Off, and I found myself on BBC.
That's crazy. So yeah, let's talk a bit about that, and we'll have more time in the second segment. But why did you apply for the Bake Off, and how did you manage to get the opportunity?
Well, for the most part, it was tongue in cheek. So my brothers, my brothers being the typical lads, would tease me for, baking cupcakes, macarons, pretty stuff. And I'm not the kind of guy who's like, who'll succumb to pressure, like, okay, I'll stop baking because you don't think it's manly enough. So I kept baking. And then I used to watch the Bake Off all the time. And then at the end of the last series, it said, if you'd like to apply, and they sent a link. I was like, what would really annoy my brothers? I was like, you know what? I had no intention of going on the show, just applying for the show. And so that's what I did. I just applied